experience. Rachel has 20 plus year experience from in teaching Kalas, right? And Tarsa Mishpacha. She's a JME and DAS trained and Tarenu certified. Psh, look at all these accreditations here. And also Pua. She also trained by Pua. Rachel is a dating coach, a bodeket, and a certified doula. So please reach out to Rachel. I'm going to post her info in the chat. If you'd like her to, either coach, train a kala that you know, or want some mentoring, marriages, right? And Rachel's fantastic. I want to welcome Rachel. She's going to be speaking today about Ayin Tova and how it's going to bring us Geulah, right? Rachel, thank you so much for being here.
Bezrat Hashem, with Siyata Deshmaya, we will see. How much time are you allotting to me? I want to make sure I leave enough time for Pamela as well.
Not Pamela, Yaghobian. Whatever you say. I think we said Yochev's available at 1:45, like in another half hour.
Okay, is that fine. Good? So 20-25 minutes. Yeah, 100%. I mean, yeah. I could keep talking for as long as you want me to. But
okay, amazing.
Yes, I want to make sure. Okay, great. So we are in this. Hello, everybody. First of all, hi to my Houston ladies, and hello to my Ramat B'Shemesh friends. And yes, of course, we're going to do this for Refuah Shleima, for Shmira, and for Atzalah, for everybody that needs, with specific intention for Dvorah Batani, dear friends of ours who can use a personal Geulah at this time, and Refuah as well.
Just before you start, I'd love it if you guys can turn on your cameras, and if you tell us in the chat where you're from. It'll be great so we could see the Achdut here. Thank you, Rachel. Go ahead.
Sure, of course. Okay, so this time of year is always a very heavy time of year. I think we all feel it. You feel it in the air, you feel it in the meals, you feel it in your homes, you feel it in your heart, you feel it in your brains. This year is especially heavy with everything that's going on in Israel. And it's always a time for introspection as well, in terms of what does Hashem want from us, where are we headed individually, where are we headed communally, where are we headed nationally as a nation, and a really good opportunity for introspection at this time. A lot of thoughts and conversations about where are you going to be for Tisha B'Av, what is your Tisha B'Av going to look like, how are you planning for your fast, all sorts of things like that as well. We do know that the temple, the Bet HaMikdash, was destroyed, the second one, because of Sinat Chinam, baseless hatred. There was a lot of animosity, a lot of dislike, a lot of just unkindness and lack of appreciation and good midot from one towards another. And really, the temple was destroyed because of this. And our Chachamim, our rabbis tell us that the best way for us to rebuild the temple is to exercise Ahavat Chinam, to exercise extra love for our fellow Jew, extra love for individuals, extra love for other people. That's very easily said, done, and often not so easily implementable. So I was thinking today just to talk about one specific point that can hopefully give us some practical application and practical tools to be able to continue in this Ahavat Chinam, in this additional baseless love that we can and should have towards our fellow Jews wherever they are. And I think a gathering like this, where I'm following in the chat a little bit as well, that has Jews from all over, is so unified in that and so beautiful in that. I'm going to tell you that this is today my third unification of women. My morning started out with a educational class for young mothers in Hebrew at one of our eateries in Houston, and we meet weekly and discuss chinuch, education for children. And I'm going to touch on some of the thoughts that I shared with that group, if I can, a little bit later today, if time allows. So that was how my morning started. It was a unification of Hebrew-speaking women from different parts of the world who now have relocated and live in Houston and are part of our Shul Torah V'Chesed and are starting to build their beautiful homes. I would say that was my first group of women. My second group of women was on Zoom about 2 hours ago. That was a group of doulas, and we have a network of doulas that I spearhead for our organization called CORE. And we had doulas from Israel, from Ramat Beit Shemesh. We had doulas from England, from Gateshead. We had doulas from Mexico. We had several doulas from the United States, from different time zones, myself from Houston, some from Chicago, some from New York and the East Coast. And it was just such a nice collection of women coming together and wanting to use their capabilities and their abilities to bettering Am Yisrael. And I think here also, so nice to see in the chat all the different women that are coming together from different parts of the world and different parts of Houston and different parts of Ramat Beit Shemesh, trying to better the world and learn and grow and implement practical strategies. Okay, so very often when we're looking for self-improvement, obviously one of the first, sources, the main source that we go to is our Torah. What does our Torah say about Ahavat Yisrael? What does our Torah say about Ahavat Chinam? What does our Torah say about loving another Jew? And very often our practical steps of that will be found in Pirkei Avot. In Pirkei Avot, there are tips for life. Those of you that have been part of my Pirkei Avot class, it's no longer continuing, but for a long time during COVID, during Corona, we had a weekly class. I had it in Hebrew, I had it in English, where we really plowed through I don't know if we got to the end, but we did most of the chapters of Pirkei Avot and speak about the different Mishnayot. The first chapter, which is the most widely well-known chapter, I think this Mishnah is in the first chapter, Ezehi derech tova sheyavor lo adam. Ezehi derech yeshara, which is like a straight path, a recommended path, a suggested path that a person should plow through, that a person should search for, that a person should engage with. And different rabbis will give their opinion. Like if I were to ask you, give me a tip for what would be a good way to exercise your love for a fellow Jew, what would be a good practical way? Different people would give different suggestions. So over here, the different rabbis gave different suggestions. One of them said Ayin Tova, which means a good eye. One of them said Shachein Tov, being a good neighbor. One of them said Lev Tov, having a good heart. One of them said Chaver Tov, being a good friend. And each one of these is right and valuable, productive, useful, and helpful in its own way. We could probably have a class on each one of those and how they would benefit us. So I chose to focus on one of those specifically today, called an Ayin Tova, which means a good eye, literally, which a lot of times leaves us with a lot of questions. What does having a good eye mean? How can we implement and practice that? And how will that in reality change us, change our surroundings? And as we change ourselves, change our surroundings, that ripple effect changes the world and will Be'ezrat Hashem bring the Geulah. So how can we do it? How can we be people that have an Ayin Tova, that have a good eye? What does that mean? What does that look like? Okay, so I put together a list of 4 different ideas that we can, take away in relation to Ayin Tova. The first one is the one that most often comes to mind, and we actually least often practice, although we really should be practicing it more often. Keep in mind, by the way, avodat midot, working on our midot, working on this Ayin Tova and having this good positive eye, it's like exercising a muscle. For any of you who have ever lifted weights or gone running or tried squats or lunges, the first day that you try, you're super sore. The second day you tried, you're also still super sore. But if you keep at it, interesting, after a week or 2 or a month or 2, things that you used to do previously that were quite difficult to you actually become manageable and doable. You're almost surprising yourself. I've had this experience where I've been like, what? I could do that? Shocking. And I'm sure each one of you has had that. It's just a matter of muscle practice, muscle memory. Keep practicing. Same thing with our midot tovot, with our characteristic traits, with our bettering ourselves. The more we practice, the more attuned we become. The more attuned we become, the more aware we become. The more aware we become, the better we get at it, the more we practice. The more we practice, the better we get at it. The better we get at it, the easier it is to do again. And then we're actually in this vicious cycle, which is a positive vicious cycle that kind of keeps us in the loop of doing better, doing better, doing better, which is such a positive loop to be in. So here we go. The first one that I would say is really practicing the midah of dan lekaf zchut, of judging people favorably. Okay, that is actually very, very hard to do, something that we have to train our minds to think. As human beings, as people, very often as women, it is easier for us to see the negative side of something, to see the half empty cup, to be able to be critical of a person, of a situation, of a circumstance, of a solution, of a mindset, very often. And really, Chazal, the rabbis tell us, being done lekaf zchut, not only is it a good idea, actually it is a mitzvah. And the mitzvah of judging someone favorably, the mitzvah of giving them the benefit of the doubt, applies to two categories of people. Either a person that we generally know as a good person, if they did something that seems to us wrong, that may be hurtful to us, that seems questionable or confusing to us. In general, if they're known as a good person, we have an obligation to give them the benefit of the doubt, to judge them favorably, to say things to ourselves, maybe I'm missing part of the picture, maybe they had a good reason for doing so, it must be that I have misunderstood, it's possible that there is a different perspective to this, all of these thoughts. Instead of our minds naturally going to the negative, we have to train ourselves to naturally go to the positive. So that is the mitzvah of dan lekaf zchut. And I'll tell you something else. The mitzvah also applies to the person who is in the middle. You know, we wouldn't classify them as a good person all the time, but they're half good, half not so good. The average person, which everybody on the screen is either going to be in the second category that I said, or in the first category that I said, which is a good person. Both of these categories, Chazal tell us, the rabbis tell us, it is our requirement, the requirement on us, our obligation to judge them favorably, to be dan lekaf zchut. The third category of people, those are the wicked people, which there are very few of, but people who are known to be bad, wicked people, those people, we are allowed to be dan lekaf chova. We are allowed to actually negatively judge them because they have implemented, they have shown themselves to be of negative influence and negative people. But our world, I'd like to think that each person here could think of their world of people, their immediate circle, their family, their community, their close friends are good people. And their wider circle of friends are probably a blend of good people or average mid-cycle people, which leaves us with the conclusion that we most likely, all of us here, have a very wide circle of people that we can and should be judging favorably. Okay, a second exercise that I want you to think about is this magnifying glass exercise. Anytime a situation happens, I want you to think about it with the magnifying glass type of situation. Am I right? Magnifying glass has two sides to it. One side can make everything much bigger, right? That's pretty much the purpose of a magnifying glass, that we can see tiny, tiny text much bigger. And the other side, if we're on the wrong side of the magnifying glass, we will often see decent sized text really, really tiny. And then we'll probably realize that we're holding the magnifying glass backwards and we'll flip it the other way. The job of a magnifying glass tool in our minds is to be able to use that for actions that people do. If someone does you a favor, if someone does a positive action, you want to use the magnifying glass that enhances that. Wow, they did a favor for me. Wow, they helped me with this. How much appreciation, gratitude, acknowledgement can I bring their way? How much hakarat tov, hakaras tov can I have towards their action? That's where our magnifying glass should be large. The reverse is also true, and that really helps us with having an Ayin Tova. If someone does something or engages in something that's maybe negative or to our dislike, or that we're not sure about, that maybe we would have done differently, or that we don't approve of, or that is questionable, how about we turn the magnifying glass and kind of minimize that action of theirs? We tend to do the opposite. We tend to minimize positive actions that come our way, the gifts that Hashem bestows our way, the favors and goodness that we have from others in our life, and we tend to magnify the negatives. If we're able to take this tool and think magnifying glass, and switch that, how would that help us? Probably a whole lot if we were to use the magnifying tool. So again, number one is judging the person favorably. Dan lekaf zchut, remembering that most people in our lives are good people, or at least medium people, and they deserve us to engage in the mitzvah of judging them favorably. Number two, using the magnifying glass tool. Number three, this is different than the magnifying glass tool, but this is very helpful. I have couples use this often when I'm speaking to a couple in relation to Shalom Bayit, in relation to communication in the home. Very often it's young couples that I deal with. He doesn't understand her. She doesn't understand him. The flip their perspective attitude. And that is, let's say someone said X, Y, and Z to you, and you are very hurt about that. Now I want you to flip it. Let's say you said X, Y, and Z. You said X, Y, and Z. Now you are expecting the other person to understand you had a hard day, to realize you didn't mean to be so hurtful, to acknowledge the fact that you were just venting, to validate the fact that these are your feelings, right? Suddenly, when you switch the perspective, it looks totally different. I say this to married women a lot. You know, I have Shalom Bayit classes. I give marriage workshops to women who are married a month, a year, 2 years, 5 years. Some of them are married. I'm thankfully, Baruch Hashem, happily married for close to 26 years. Some of them are older than me, have children older than me, and are married for longer. And we speak about this, you know, in a group of women. A lot of times women have a lot of stuff, negative stuff to say about their husbands. He doesn't do this, he does this, he should be coming, he shouldn't be coming, he's like this, he's like that. I mean, if I were to open the pot, everybody would have something negative to say about their husbands, no doubt. And then I throw this question into the room and I say, I just want you to think for a second about this question. How would it feel to be married to me? How would it feel to be married to me? Think about that. Think for a second when your husband walks through the door, what is he walking to? When he wakes up in the morning, what is he waking up to? Most women, when they hear me say that, are like, oh my goodness, like I give him so much credit. What happened? How come you give him so much credit? What has changed? Nothing, just the perspective. So anytime we have a difficult situation, this is called switch their perspective or wear their shoes. Literally, this is a hard one. Try to get into that person's shoes. Try to really get into their shoes and feel, where are they coming from? What are they saying? What do they want to be saying? What are these words saying? What are these actions saying? Sometimes, this is especially true for any of you who have teenage kids. They may be acting a certain way, but the behavior is really trying to say something else. I need attention. I'm tired, I'm distressed, I'm worried, peer pressure is killing me, whatever they may want to be saying that they can't verbally say, their actions are saying that. And guess what? The adults in our lives, often their actions are actually saying their feelings too. One of the steps in the projection of maturity is to be able to be aware of your thoughts, aware of your feelings, and actually vocalize those. We typically say that adults are just sophisticated kids because a lot of times adults are not aware enough and they're not able to vocalize. They don't have that self-awareness that comes with years. So the projection of maturity, it doesn't end at any specific age. It continues going on, and it's a job for us. So number 3 is, wear the shoes or flip the perspective. So again, number 1 is judge favorably. Number 2 is use the magnifying glass. Magnify good deeds, demagnify, I don't know if there's such a word, negative actions, not the reverse. Number 3, flip the perspective. Wear the shoes. What if it was you acting that way, saying that thing, making that decision? How would you like the person across you, the person relating to you, to deal with you? And number 4, and this is also, again, this comes with like a lot of maturity and years of experience. Sometimes this might be someone in your immediate circle, a friend of yours, will act a certain way, not necessarily to you, but to someone else, will do something, will behave in a way that you don't approve of, that you think is wrong, that you think is weird, will make a decision that you are like, what? I can't believe they did that. I can't believe they said that. I can't believe they went there. Keep in mind this rule. Sometimes something may not be good for you. It may not be your way of going about it. It doesn't mean that it's wrong. Different doesn't mean wrong. Different means, for me, that would never work. For her, that may work. For me, that's a terrible idea. For her, that may actually be a workable idea. Very, very important to keep in mind. Different is not wrong. We very often are stuck that our way is the own way, right? Like my way is the highway. And again, maturity is this area of being able to say, I see it one way, you see it a different way. Both of those ways are possible ways to getting to a solution. I'll tell you one more thing with this I'll end. Very often in my parenting classes, it comes up that two parents will parent in a different way. The father will do this, the mother will do this. I have this rule, he has this rule. I'm the bad cop, he's the good cop. Like, shouldn't it be that we're on the same page about every decision that we make, about every schedule that we have, about every minute of the day, about every sentence that we say, about every kid to our family, at every age and stage in their life? So first of all, right away, that is impossible. Impossible. No two people are ever going to react, react at every age or stage to each one of their individual kids. Because guess what? If you have more than one kid, you learn this very quickly. You think you figured it out on your first kid, and then the second kid comes and they're totally different than kid number 1. Or you think you figured it out on kid number 1 and they're 4, 5, and 6, and now they're 8, 9, and 10, and everything that you thought you knew is not relevant because they're now in a different stage. So we're always in a place of growth. Marriage and parenting are, I say this over and over, those are the 2 areas that I probably, work in the most, teach in the most, engage in the most. Marriage and parenting are our really battlefield, are our training course. They're our gym for becoming better people. There are individualized indoor or outdoor gyms for working on our midot: patience, love, acceptance, giving, tolerance, chesed, understanding, kindness, right? All of these are imbued in our parenting and in our marriage modules. And all our modules look different than one another because we're different individuals. And Hashem knows for each one of us what would be right. If we each went with a personal trainer to a gym, they would give me different workout than they're probably going to give Yocheved or someone else who is going to be engaging with us soon in some healthy mind soul, and body exercises. So I'm going to leave you with these 4 thoughts. I'm going to leave you with the thoughts that Hashem is our parent. He always wants to educate us. He wants us to get to a better place. He wants us to be able to be in a constant place of growth and education. The last question I'll tell you that I get a lot is women will say, oh, should I come to the parenting class? My kid is only 4 months, or my kid is only a year old. You're probably going to speak about things that are really not so relevant to me. So I always say, it's possible. It's possible that I'll give examples of teenagers and you don't have any in your home. It's possible I'll give examples of toddlers and you don't have any of those in your home. You know, at this point in my life, I have a pretty wide spectrum in my own home. So I kind of remember, but it's amazing how fast we forget. If you don't have a newborn, you kind of forget what that reality looks like. But despite the fact, the main work in parenting is not how to relate to the child. The main work in parenting is how to relate to myself. What is my awareness? What is my thought process? What are my triggers? What are the things that I'm doing or saying or acting out of control? Where can I regain control? Where can I have more self-awareness? Where can I work on myself? The better I am, naturally, the better decisions I'm going to make as they relate to my marriage, as they relate to my children, as they relate to my friends, as they relate to my community. So I'm going to give everybody here a bracha that this muscle practice of Ayin Tova, of practicing to be able to see the good in other people, even when they behave differently, act differently, do things that may hurt us, behave or make decisions that are not ones that we would necessarily would have. We practice these 4 elements, and I'll say them one last time, of Ayin Tova. Number 1, dandekaf zchut, judging favorably. Number 2, using the magnifying glass exercise to help us. Number 3, using the flip the perspective. How would it feel to be married to me? What did it feel like to wear their shoes? And number 4, different is not bad. Just because I wouldn't do it that way doesn't mean that for them, this may not work. So with this, I'm going to end off and give everyone a bracha for a successful Chodesh Av. And we should all see the Geulah. Thank you, Karen, from Ramat Beit Shemesh Nashei, for initiating this. And I'll stay on looking forward. I think Yocheved is next.
Thank you so much, Rachel. Amazing, incredible, incredible. Always so much to learn from you. I so much appreciate you being here and sharing with us this inspiration. And I want to just open up if there's any questions or comments, if anybody would like to ask anything or share something.
Sure, if anyone wants to ask, or if anyone would like to give something that works for them in being able to have an Ayin Tova. A nice way of saying Ayin Tova also is to have rose-colored glasses, to kind of like have this positive mindset.
Anyone? Okay. Wow, it's quiet tonight. So thank you so much, Rachel. Really so special that you were here and that you joined us tonight all the way from Texas. But Rachel is actually a good friend of our friend Devora that we're davening for, Devora Bat Henny. So it's special that you're able to share Torah here, inspire us. It should be a great chizuk and refuah shlema to Devora Bat Henny. Maybe B'ezrat Hashem we hear Besorot Tovot from her very soon. If you could all add her to your tefillot, it really would be appreciated. To your Tehillim. I am going to share my my links with you guys. If you can join my groups. If you don't know who I am, I'm Karen Miller, Yoshua, and I run Lev Ha'am, which runs inspiration for women around the world. We do tefillot and all types of gatherings for all Jewish women all around the world. Baruch Hashem, we've done music, we've done tefillot, we've done dancing for Geulah together with my friend Chaya Sarah, who's also from Texas. And Baruch Hashem, we've managed to reach many people from, like I said, all around the world. So we're happy to be able to continue to do that. I'm also a life coach. I have my own marketing company. And if anybody needs help with any of those areas, please feel free to reach out to me as well. I love teaching and inspiring others, so I'm available for speaking engagements as well. I made so many good friends just from being able to teach and to be able to share with Lev Ha'am Tefillot through this forum. And I encourage all of you, I think Rachel was saying it at the beginning, to shine your light and to be able to really have an effect on all, women, wherever they are, wherever you are, you can shine your light, you can share your inspiration with others. So I encourage you also to do the same and make these gatherings for women. I want to welcome, actually going to stop 1 second, the recording.